Hi, everyone. My name is Roberta MacIntyre, and thanks for joining the monthly Fire Safe Sonoma Speaker Series. We live stream this program at 3 o'clock on the third Thursday of every month, except for the month of December, so don't look for us next month, the regular viewers. We're a week early this month because of Thanksgiving, so hopefully y'all figured that out. You can find our past speaker series programs on our YouTube channel. There's a lot of good information there. I think we've got like 5 years worth of content on there now. I think next year will be on our 6th year of speaker series. So yeah, check it out. There's a lot of good stuff there. Uh, for those folks who are new or may not know, Fire Safe Sonoma is the countywide Fire Safe Council, and we've been serving Sonoma County for 26 years now. Yep, that's right. We've been working in this space before wildland fire safety and risk reduction was popular. Also, I want to mention that with the help of one of our former staff, Emily Tuga, we just finished making a film about one of our projects. Emily did an amazing job with the film, and it is available on our YouTube channel. Check it out. It's called The Fire Break. It's about 48 minutes long. We will be entering it at some film festivals. And so far, folks that have seen it, they seem to really love it. I think it came out really well. It really spotlights roadside fuels reduction work and how to do it well, and how Fire Safe Sonoma has developed a systematic approach to doing roadside fuels reduction work. We're getting pretty good at it. And then also for some breaking news, we recently hired Sophia Lavique as our new county coordinator. She's will be working on projects related to our grant funded through the California Fire Safe Council for a county coordinator. And she will be with us until the end of July of 26. And maybe longer. Who knows? We'll see what happens when we get to that bridge. But that's how long the grant is funding her, or that position. And then before we get started, I want to thank Team Fire Safe Sonoma today for helping out. With us today is Claire, Sydney, and Jeannie, our 3 new fellows. So thank you guys. They're doing a truckload of work in the background behind the scenes. And also don't forget to check out the Fire Safe Sonoma calendar. It's on our website. You could look there for upcoming events. And if you have an event that's relative to wildland fire safety and risk reduction, send it our way and we will get it on our calendar. And folks, just be aware that we have a calendar for such things. And if you have such things and want to use that to help get your word out, send it our way. We'll get it up there. We're also getting ready for our 2026 speaker series, and we'd love to know what you think. We have a survey that is linked in the chat, where you can share your thoughts and opinions. We want this content to be meaningful and have value to y'all. And so we don't want to just put stuff that, I think is cool, or, one of us on the team think is cool. We want to make sure we put content out there that is worthwhile and informative to you all, stuff that you want. Keep in mind it needs to be related to wildland fire safety and risk reduction, because that's our lane and we like to stay in our lane. And to stay in the loop, you can also subscribe to our updates. You can do that through our website. And I think we might have something in the chat to help with that. Okay, so last month we had Alina Brammer and Malia Zimmerman, a couple of our past fellows, who presented a Ready, Set, Go presentation for renters. It came out really well. So if you are a renter, know of a renter, and want to get some helpful tips on how to be wildfire prepared and ready to evacuate, if you live in an apartment or a rental, check it out. And then next month we'll be going dark again, as I mentioned, and then we'll be putting together our lineup for the next year. So when you do that survey, give us some suggestions on who to have on the show next year. And then with all that said, this month we are pleased to have Marshall Turbeville with us. Marshall and I will be discussing how Measure H funding is benefiting Fire Safe Sonoma, and we'll be providing an update on the key objectives Fire Safe Sonoma is meant to deliver through our Measure H agreement with the County Fire Chiefs Association, which include the development of a project intake portal. So we'll kind of walk you through the basics of all that. All right. Well, let's do a couple of introductions. I saved my regular introduction until now. Um, and yeah, so let's go ahead and pin Marshall and I, and then we'll do our introductions. I'm Roberta MacIntyre, President and CEO of FireSafe Sonoma. And I've been with FireSafe Sonoma since 2008. I was fire marshal in 2008, and then I sorry about that. Um, I learned about FireSafe Sonoma while I was the county fire marshal. I got involved in FireSafe Sonoma, and then I fell in love with FireSafe Sonoma. Got really passionate about the work the FireSafe Sonoma is doing. And when I retired from the county, I retired out as the county fire marshal in 2015. I stayed on with FireSafe Sonoma and been the president CEO since, doing a lot of fine work for FireSafe Sonoma. So I'm gonna hand it off to you, Marshall. Go ahead and take yourself off the mute and introduce yourself, and then I'll cue up the slideshow.
Yeah, Marshall Turbeville, Fire Chief for the Northern Sonoma County Fire Protection District. I've been involved in the fire service since 1995. I'm also associated with CAL FIRE. Responded to most of the major fires in Sonoma County since 2017 with the Tubbs in the Pocket and the Adobe and Norbalm and the other fires. My motivation, more so in the last 5+ years, since we've been experiencing the catastrophic and damaging large fires, has been more on risk reduction, including vegetation management. And then with the passage of Measure H in March of 2024, specifically the Northern Sonoma County Fire Protection District was awarded funding from that sales tax measure to implement vegetation management. And I'll joke that it's easy to go out and cut and chip and burn things. The real hard part is determining where we should do that work, where it matters the most, where it's going to have the most impact as far as mitigation. And we tend to be doing a lot of roadside projects right now because that's where fires start. They're the evacuation routes, and the roads are also a location to stop or slow an advancing wildfire. So in addition to my wildland firefighting experience and all risk firefighting experience, I also have a forestry degree from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. So I've always been interested in also forest health, ecosystem health, not just about cutting everything down so it can't burn. So just a little intro there. And then as we present more this afternoon, I can cover a little bit more about my experiences and more specifically what the Measure H vegetation management funded fuels crew can do and how this all fits into that process of determining where they're going to do the wildfire risk reduction mitigation work.
Yeah, great, thanks, Chief. And Chief Turbeville has also been instrumental working with the Fire Services Working Group to get us where we are today. And then I wish we were further along than we are, but this has been quite an exciting, laborious process to get us where we are currently. And with that said, our goal is to have a portal available January 1st of 2026 that will allow fire folks to put in projects from their areas supported by their community members into the portal, starting with the Measure H fuels crew work, and then in time we'll build it out further. And I will start the slideshow now to kind of walk you through how we're getting from here to there. So here we go. All right. Here's our opening. Let's see if I can get the slides to change. I love it when that happens. Okay, so specifically Measure H, relative to relative to wildland fire safety and risk reduction. So Measure H does fundamentally three things. It's meant to fund new regional fire inspectors, and we'll talk more about that in a minute. It's also meant to fund a countywide vegetation management crew, which Marshall mentioned. It is the countywide vegetation management crew is the North Sonoma County Fire District's fields crew, but they're not meant to only work in the fire district. They're meant to work county-wide. And then the third element, is to be aware of is agencies which receive funds shall be permitted to enter into an agreement with local agency or entity which delivers products or services which accomplish the purposes of the ordinance. And so that's where Fire Safe Sonoma comes in. Fire Safe Sonoma entered into an agreement with the Sonoma County Fire Chiefs Association to do certain things. Okay. Here's a QR to the actual ordinance if you want to go check it out in its entirety. Um, and basically the ordinance in its final form only, it doesn't provide money. So there's folks that are out there, oh, how do I get funding for this? How do I get funding for that? I wanted to remind people that there's no account with money in it that it is meant to fund projects specifically. So like if you have a fuels reduction project on a ridge line or something and you need to get money to do that, still the venue or the avenue there would be to go find some grant funding or other source of funding to get that done. The fuels crew might be able to help with something like that in a small way, but they're really not meant for them larger projects, in my opinion. So really, the ordinance provides for specific resources, not a pot of money, but it funds specific resources, such as the addition of approximately 200 firefighters all over the county to get our response times within reasonable limits county-wide for EMS services, fire services, all the multi-hazard stuff that fire departments do. Another thing it does is it's meant to provide new regional fire inspectors and a countywide vegetation management crew, which we spoke about just a minute ago. And then a third thing, it's meant to provide funding to update essential equipment and facilities, so capital improvements, purchase of apparatus, and equipment for the firefighters to do their job, their all-risk work. It's meant to do that as well. And then it allows the transfer of funds among designated local agencies or other entities, such as it allows the ability for the Fire Chiefs Association to contract with Fire Safe Sonoma to do certain things. And that's where we come in and where this informational presentation comes in. We're going to explain what Fire Safe Sonoma's agreement with the county fire chiefs does and how we are leveraging that to help you all. Okay. And it also, as an aside, provides for the implementation costs and countywide expenditures. So there's additional funds to, cover the costs of the county tax assessors work involved in this, county staff that do their behind the scenes work to make this ordinance work. If you go read the whole ordinance, the first 3/4, 75 or 80% of it is all about how the tax works, how the money comes in, how it goes from the state to the county, yada, yada, yada. And then the bottom chunk talks about where the rubber hits the road, the stuff that is being funded with these tax funds. So with that said, there's I got these out of order. The sales tax are meant to fund new regional fire inspectors. Okay, it's the understanding of Fire Safe Sonoma that the term regional fire inspector is meant to serve as something that we've come to call a regional wildfire safety representative. And this thing is morphed. So the original intent of this was that those that are familiar with the various fire zones, fire response zones throughout the county, there was meant to be, in some of those zones are multi-fire agency within a single response zone. So the idea was to provide one point of contact for each zone that Fire Safe Sonoma can work with, and also that individual could work with their community groups to stand up wildland fire safety and risk reduction projects. And again, the original intent was that a person would be hired for each zone through one of the fire districts or fire departments in a particular zone to do that work. The thing is kind of morphed. In concept, that sounded pretty cool, but long story short, as things evolved, it wasn't able to work quite that way. So where we landed is the Fire Chiefs Association, and through our work at Fire Safe Sonoma, we've identified a handful of people to be those regional representatives. And currently, we have them loosely assigned to the fire response zones, but that's evolving as well. So we're probably going to move away from the concept of assigning these folks based on response zones. Regardless, we do have a list of folks that y'all can reach out to for your specific geography to help you get projects stood up. If you're a community member, and into the portal through your fire representative. Um, Anything to add, Marshall, so far? How am I doing?
Doing well. I think the biggest thing for the audience would be is that when projects are being submitted, we need assurance that they have strategic value as one of the components, as well as community benefit. So while they probably could occur or may occur on private property, they are community benefit. So it's not benefiting one private landowner, and it also is strategic from the point of view primarily of wildfire risk reduction. So that's why working with these regional fire inspectors or your local fire agency, there's also CAL FIRE, just providing that strategic value. So in theory, there's local planning occurring either through Firewise USA action plan or Firewise USA process, or there could be a community wildfire protection plan, or there could be a homeowner association or a road association. Someone is getting the community together to identify projects. They then work with their local fire department. The Measure H spells out a specific person funded to do that, but bottom line, it's somebody from your local fire agency, CAL FIRE, if you're also in CAL FIRE jurisdiction, that then brings that project forward or provides validity to it. We still got to prioritize it, or does it occur before another project, but it's going to meet the requirements of having community benefit and also being strategic. So that's the real purpose of this regional fire inspector position.
Great, thanks for adding that. Very important. Number two, the sales tax will fund a countywide vegetation management crew, and that's Marshall Turbeville's crew. Chief Turbeville, do you want to kind of describe briefly the crew capabilities so people have it aware of what they're able to do?
Correct. I think that'd be a good spot to do that here. So the vegetation management crew, we also may use the word fuels crew. They're people with chainsaws and chippers. So they have pole saws and then regular chainsaws of various sizes. So they're not operating masticators, are not operating heavy equipment. They're not climbing trees. They don't operate a bucket truck. That could happen in the future, but there's so much work to be done by not using those types of equipment, just by people using chainsaws and shippers, that we're focusing on a very limited menu of what the fuels crew will do. So it's primarily a shaded fuel break. It's not cutting big trees. It's not working down steep slopes and pulling the trees up that steep slope and getting rid of them. It's primarily working in locations that are, relatively not steep, but it can be a little bit steep, and removing small trees, limbing up larger trees, and overall serving the role or being a surrogate or a substitute for what a natural historical wildland fire would have done. A low intensity natural fire that would have burned under not the most extreme conditions would have cleared out the understory, would have burned the lowest limbs on a tree, and those would have stopped growing. And so the tree over time would have elevated canopy, or in the fire service, we call it ladder fuels, wouldn't have ladder fuels. So future fires would only stay on the surface of the earth and not get up in the tops of the trees and cause embers that land in gutters, open windows, and garages. And then we have house-to-house ignition in urban areas. So the whole goal is to mimic what a natural low intensity, low severity fire would have done by removing understory vegetation. So that means we're not weed eating. We're not working in grass areas because the grass comes back every year. There's a different tool that might be better for that. We're not doing invasive species mitigation or management like the broom. We may cut the broom to get to a tree or a shrub. We are targeting woody material, woody debris. So 1 to 6 inches in diameter. Depending on where we're working, we're going to use a wheel chipper. So that's towed behind a vehicle and the chips are left on site. So we don't currently have the capacity to haul chips away. So the chips are left on site. And they're spread out to be no more than 6 inches, ideally only 1 to 3 inches, with the thought that they'll decompose over time, and they may also help suppress some of the undergrowth, such as the broom, from coming back. We also have a track chipper that is basically like a small bulldozer tracks with a chipper. So same chipper you'd see that's towed around, and now it's on a bulldozer track frame. And so that allows us to work on some steeper slopes, less pulling material to a road. So it's really good in drier conditions like the summer, spring, late fall, where the roads aren't muddy and we can work off pavement. This time of year, we pretty much got to work near pavement, and that also leave chips behind. We can, if the local fire agency or CAL FIRE supports, there's also pile burning. So piles generally 4 feet by 4 feet, spaced out so they don't damage the canopies of the tree or create smoke impacts on homes or hot roads, and then pile burning. But that would only be if the local fire agency supports it and is willing to patrol if needed, check on the burn piles when the fuel screw is not working. So that would be late at night, early in the morning, or come out if somebody had a concern about seeing any glowing material at night, because we're burning big logs, big material. So those tend not to burn down within 6 hours. So that is another option to do burn piles. Some of this work that the fuel crew is doing could support larger prescribed burns, broadcast burns, or be an element to a larger project. Maybe a larger project is also dead and die tree removal. Maybe it's a broadcast burn. Maybe it's a grazing. That's all great. That's another component of an overall program or projects. But the fuels crew is specifically woody material, mimicking a natural historical wildfire via chainsaws, primarily chipping, but there is an option to do burn piles.
Right. All right. Thanks, Chief. That was very comprehensive. All right. And then the third piece that's related to what Fire Safe Sonoma is meant to do through our agreement is, well, the third, a third thing that the ordinance provides for is the ability to make an agreement with other entities to do wildland fire safety and risk reduction work. And so Fire Safe Sonoma has entered into an agreement with the Fire Chiefs Association that provides for that directs Fire Safe Sonoma through a contractual agreement to do these 3 directives. So Directive 1, to serve as the countywide Fire Safe Council, basically to continue all the good work that we've been doing for the last 26 years to our current level of service. Doesn't allow for a lot of growth currently. And so whatever we do otherwise, other than, a base level of service would be through grant funded projects and funding. Second directive is to select fuel reduction projects for the Measure H fuels crews. And then the third directive, which has been the most complex for my point of view, is to create and manage a prioritized list of vegetation management projects relative to the countywide community wildfire protection plan. So those are the 3 fundamental obligations that Fire Safe Sonoma has through a contractual agreement between us and the Chiefs Association in order for us to receive Measure H funds. So that's kind of where the rubber hits the road. Further on the agreement, Fire Safe Sonoma, a little bit about what we do as part of the agreement. This is our ongoing work here. And then some of our projects I'm going to hit real fast in the interest of time. Projects that we have currently is we sponsor fellows. We're currently sponsoring 3 fellows. We are funding a county coordinator to do a lot of the work that we have been doing and continue to do, such as all these programs over here. We have a grant project we're running for Safer West out in West County. It's a defensible space project combined with outreach and education and economic rebates, financial rebates for people within the project footprint to get refunded for contract defensible space work that they had done. Um, Diamond Mountain Mark West Vegetation Treatment Plan out in the Upper Mark West watershed area. That project is almost finished, ongoing. We have funding to do 2 years worth of the Wildfire Safety and Earthquake Expo. Last year's expo was an amazing success. If anybody, and if any of you attended it, you could probably attest to that. And then we'll be running it again this year in 2026, I should say, and not twice in 1 year. Um, Resilient Landscape Coalition Better Outcomes Project. We're in our second endeavor with them to continue the work of educating folks on how they can create a fire resilient landscape using natives and plant spacing and the correct plant for the correct spot, doing your plant maintenance, etc. Uh, and then we recently received funding from the county to do what we call work party weekends. That will run until the end of June of 2026. We can provide our tool trailer along with a recology, a 20-yard recology bin. And if the project's out in unincorporated area, we can get the Sonoma County curbside chipper crew out there to do some chipping. And then one of our most recent endeavors is we're working with Nancy Brown over at Sonoma County Emergency Management to provide some GMRS ability, communication ability out in the Sonoma Springs area, where it has been kind of a communications or a GMRS desert for quite a while. So those are our current projects we have in play that are grant funded. Our programs include Firewise USA. That's probably our most important, most critical program we're running currently. I think by the end of the year, we are likely to have at least 40 Firewise communities. I think the first of the year we started in the high 20s. So we're cruising right along with Firewise. The project portal, which is what we're talking about today a little bit, will launch the first official version of that in January, by January 1st of 2026. That's my promise. We have this speaker series program, which you're enjoying hopefully today. We have a tool trailer that we loan to community groups if they want to borrow it. It's packed with defensible space tools. We do a biannual leadership summit where we get all of our community leaders together and spend a day, uh, networking and learning new things. We continually do wildfire safety education and outreach. I'm, you know, very often asked to come speak to a community group about stuff. Marshall, same sort of thing. He's always asked to come speak to a group about all different things from structural hardening, defensible space, anything wildland fire safety related. And then we also do project development and management, which includes like the management of all these projects. We can help people with writing grants if it's a project that we feel is worthwhile to put our effort into, et cetera, et cetera. And if you have a project, well, I'll explain more about how to get a complex project into our system in just a minute. It's part of the whole package. And so, again, directive to select fuel reduction projects for crews. Um, so this is our website page. It's currently draft. It's not published yet. So the way it would work is that, or the way we envision it, not sure if it'll work yet or not. The way I'm envisioning it is people can go to our website, to this landing page, learn about the two paths to put a project in a pipeline. If it's a fuels crew only project, it'll go this way. If it's a other community project, usually more complicated than something that the fuels crew only will do, like roadside. We're really focusing on roadside right now. then it could go in there. And I'll talk about the other one in a minute. Let's talk about Fuels Crew only right now. And keep in mind, again, I want to emphasize the fact that these two portals are meant to be available to fire service personnel only. So if you're a community organizer, a community member, a resident leader, and you have a project on your action plan or on your local CWPP priority project list, take that project to your local fire person or one of our regional coordinators as we stand them up and pitch it to them. And then if they like it, they'll help you with it. They're supposed to help you with it. And then they will be the individual that will put the project in the portal either way. So bear that in mind. Um, and in some projects, we've been kind of fussing with this, testing out different versions of it over the past year, trying to figure out what's going to work well. And so some projects have been done outside of a portal entirely that Chief Turbeville has been able to engage with folks on and get stood up while we're trying to get this thing built. And then more recently, some projects are into our prototype portal. We've got a project here, project there. I don't have, I can't click on here and tell you what's what. This is not an interactive map. This is a snapshot. But we've got these roadside projects here, here, and here that are currently in the hopper, in addition to a handful of projects that Marshall's crew's got, which you can see on their website. And so currently we're building this Fuels Crew project portal. It'll look something like this when it becomes available to the fire representatives. And then they'll put their project in there. And the process of getting to where we are today has been longer than I wanted it to take. But currently we're using on our experience over the last year and trying to get this thing stood up. We want to make sure that, as Marshall mentioned, that we put effort towards strategically based projects. We want to, again, remind you that fire staff are the ones that would be, putting a project forward. And for the fuels reduction crew project specifically, we landed on roadsides because roadsides are kind of they're built into the overall strategic priorities for evacuation and calming device for, like a field break. It's not a bona fide a fire break, but it can slow fire down. Shaded field breaks have shown to be pretty effective in buying time to get people out and resources in and give the responders a hand up trying to get a handle on the fire. And one of the things that the committee recently landed on to try to make all this simple and better for all of us is we're building in a timeline. So that's going to be really important. And what I really wanted to share, probably most of all today, is that if you have a roadside project that you think, you could stand up and it'd be a good fit for the fuels crews, put it in by March 15th. The window is technically January 1 to March 15th. The Project Review Advisory Committee will look at the projects between March 15th and May 1st. And then around May 1st, you'll be notified whether or not your project is calendared for that calendar year or not. And then the crews will work on getting them on the calendar and implemented. Anything to add there, Marshall? I feel like you might want to chime in.
The big realization is well, we're fortunate that Measure H passed and does fund a fuels crew. There's probably way more demand than what the fuels crew can do. So that's why there's many good projects. It's going to come down to the prioritization of projects. There will be some consideration that they need to be spread throughout the county. At least that's my opinion. But that's really what Fire Safe Sonoma is going to do. So the portal, the entry, the intake, that's all a Fire Safe Sonoma function. That's what a Can Move Off Our Protection Plan is. So Fire Safe Sonoma will then direct where the Measure H funded crew does work. So while I'll be the employer of the crew, I'm not going to determine where they do work. That is up to Fire Safe Sonoma. to get into Fire Safe Sonoma's prioritization selection process, that's exactly what Roberta's talking about. That you work with your local fire department, you work with your community, get it in the process. Fire Safe Sonoma looks at it, and rather than taking applications throughout the whole year, which can be done, but it's better just to capture them one time a year, kind of like a grant application period. But this is not a grant, just capture them one time and then make a work plan for the next month, 9 months or 12 months. So everyone knows where their project sits in the implementation phase. So I'm making numbers up here. Let's say there's 100 projects in Fire Safe Sonoma's library, in their category of projects, or collection of projects. So maybe the fuels crew can only do 6 or 10 a year. Every project is a little bit different acreage. Some of it may take more labor, more effort. So let's just say, I'm just making numbers up here, only 20% of projects get done every year. Well, let's say County of Sonoma gets some type of settlement funds coming in. Let's say there's a CAL FIRE grant announced. Let's say there's a Forest Service grant. Let's say there's a FEMA grant. It puts Fire Safe Sonoma also in a good position to have a collection of good projects to go secure other resources, other funding, other opportunities. Maybe it's Conservation Corps North Bay. Maybe it's the Triple Cs. And that's the California Conservation Corps. It just allows the true intent of what a CFPP is: a prioritized list of projects at a county level. Remember, this is going to be inside city limits, outside city limits. This will truly be countywide, because Measure H is applied countywide, inside cities and outside cities. So, just think of Fire Safe Sonoma as collecting all these projects. The portal screenshot Roberta just showed did have like a fuels crew Measure H only. But the real goal here is to collect all projects, of which some will be Measure H implemented, or Measure H fuel crew employees implemented. Other ones will be in consideration in queue, or other ones could be funded or implemented by other means. So,
Yeah. And so, yeah, I'll let Priscilla had that very question, Chief, so we'll get to that as well. So there's 2 pathways. There was easy button, roadside, Measure H crews, boom. The set of questions for that intake are probably less than a dozen. Very simple application for the fire representative to put in there. So that's kind of the real quick. For the environmental piece of that, once the project's in there, we'll help with that, because it's ideally will be just a simple categorical exemption because it's along the road, et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of the easy button there. And then so next, so that's Directive 2, part of Directive 2 in terms of Fire Safe Sonoma's agreement with the chiefs. Directive 3 is to create and manage a prioritized list of projects related to the countywide CWPP. So that's the other path that we'll have on our website. And after fussing with this for a very, very long time, instead of reinventing the wheel, working with our GIS consultant, and also in trying for the last 3 years to negotiate an agreement with the county to allow Fire Safe Sonoma to take over a custodianship of the county's CWPP hub site. Where the committee landed through consensus is that what we'll do is we're going to rebuild or build a portal that looks and feels and behaves very much like the county CWPP hub site. And then we'll do what the CWPP hub site at the county level was meant to do. Fire Safe Sonoma will take it from there, get the projects in. The project review committee will rank them as low, medium, or high priority projects. Probably use that 3-tier ranking system where still have not come to a consensus on how they will rank the project yet in terms of 1 through 10 or 1 through 100 or high, medium, or low, but we're getting there. But anyway, so the projects will go into our portal the same as they would have for the county CWPP, and we'll manage it as the countywide CWPP hub site was meant to manage them. Only now we have the staff through Measure H to be able to do it, where the county, in my conversations with them, I think one of their biggest challenges was finding the funding to pay the staff to work with Fire Safe Sonoma to maintain the CWPP hub site, that portion of it for the project intake and review. So we're taking that over and handling it from there. So yeah, so the two paths are simple, easy peasy, for CEQA, categorical exemption, roadside stuff, fuels crew only, boom, simple application for your local fire representative to help you get in there. And then for other community projects, to answer your question, Priscilla, it'll be the same as what we were trying to do with the countywide CWPP, but we're just, taking responsibility for it and taking over the management of it. So that's kind of where we're headed. And we can stop share. We're like 4 minutes early for questions. This is good.
Well, real quick, the screen you're showing, or maybe you're not showing it right now, but it was a screenshot of the portal entry, and it goes to Chris Kilgore's question about engineering, schematic design, how far do you need to go? And you can see there on that screenshot, which Roberta's getting to, we just need the length of the road or landmarks on the road. The width, we always want to go 100 feet, not always realistic, so we normally settle for 30. So that's why you don't need to go to engineering level drawings. Plus, we also got to do the environmental compliance, which may exclude some of your areas you'd like to treat. So it's better to do project design with the I would say the right project or really what we want to do, and then through the design process, we get it down to where work's going to be. Because example like Seaview Road, you may draw in 100 feet from edge of pavement all the way from, let's say, Fort Ross Road to Timber Cove Road. Well, some of that's going to be grass that we're not going to work in. So there's no reason to do a project design or environmental compliance there. So it's better just to give us the length of road landmarks, as you see on the project portal entry page. And then we can go from there to refine it down to move it towards implementation ready.
Yeah, in fact, I'm sorry about that. I was trying to bring up the actual portal, the draft portal we have right now, trying to do that.
Yeah, I have it on slide 16 was the screenshot you captured.
Oh, okay. Let me go back to
And then
that.
while you're looking there, I'll address Erica's question.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. You don't need to have an established Firewise community, COPE, CERT, CWPP, any of that stuff. We just need to make sure that when a project's brought forward to the fire agency, that it has involved grassroots, whole community level planning, involvement. Examples would be as if it's not, we want to do a roadside shaded fuel break and only a minority of the community, maybe 3 of 10 property owners or 3 of 10 community members support the project. We're going to get a lot of, I don't want to say resistance, but it's just going to be harder to do the project because they got to be on board with chainsaws running to 8 o'clock in the morning, maybe on a Saturday, the road being blocked, for when they want to leave their house. And so we really need to make sure the community understands the benefit and supports projects. That gets more important when we start talking about pile burning, broadcast burning. Some of those projects may not happen unless there's strong community support. So simple answer is no, you don't have to be a Firewise community. That is one model for community organization. We just want to ensure that there's community support, community benefit, strategic value. And when we go to implement, we don't hit any unforeseen roadblocks in that implementation planning process. I
will say that though, if a community group or if a community is able to get a project stood up with their local fire person and get it into the portal, we will be leveraging that group to encourage them to become a Firewise community. If you can get the thing in there and if you can get the permission from the people along that road, that is a good indicator to me that they're right to turn themselves into a Firewise community in good standing, which has a lot of benefits.
And then the 2 questions I see Chris asked about making an appointment. So that would be with your local fire department. So Timber Cove Fire District, you should contact or Goldridge for the part that's in Goldridge's district that you represent. But Timber Cove's already been involved in other project planning with Fire Safe Sonoma. And so they're familiar. So I'd recommend you do that. And they already have, I can tell you, they're working on a strategic fuel break network, and they're working on environmental compliance for that as well. So most likely they've already prioritized projects or verified their prioritized strategic value projects. They may need help with property owner permission, other parts of getting the implementation ready. But yeah, talk to your local fire department. And the next two questions, both of you from Erica and Steve, are about environmental compliance, environmental assessment. This is something that's really tricky. It's called the Environmental Quality Act. Only government agencies can serve as what's called a lead environmental agency. So a homeowner group in general cannot do that. Fire Safe Sonoma doesn't do that. So that's where we look to partner with another government entity, whether it's a resource conservation district, and we have two in Sonoma County, Goldridge and Sonoma, or it could be a fire department, or a lot of our projects right now tend to be along County of Sonoma roads, and County of Sonoma can do what's called a categorical exemption, basically saying that there's a statutory reason working along infrastructure, protecting a road, it's exempt. It doesn't mean we can just do whatever we want. There still is some restrictions, like we can't chip or burn in a creek or a water course. We can't damage archaeological sites. There's still restrictions, but we don't need to do a year-long or a potential 9-month process, which would be required by a BTP or an environmental impact report. Sonoma County also is in the coastal zone, so there's some coastal zone permitting that's got to happen as well. In the cities might want to be a partner on a city road or in city jurisdiction. So that's where if you work with your local fire department and you put the project together, that's where you're going to develop or understand the roles, and you'll find possibly a partner organization, government organization, that'll be the lead environmental. Or as a last resort, Fire Safe Sonoma could work on getting a partner to be the lead environmental agency. But it's also, in my opinion, I'm on the Fire Safe Sonoma board. If a project has never really been endorsed or developed in partnership with a government agency, it shows that there hasn't been that proper grassroots collaboration that should have been part of project design and leading up to the project finalization process. And then Judy tagged on about there's a new thing called the CEQA suspension. The governor earlier this year in March, environmental protection plan. We don't have a preference. It's just whatever process you want to use. So the three primary ones that are being used right now is what's called the notice of exemption. That's the categorical exemption that Steve Finnegan mentioned. It's an NOE, notice of exemption. That's normally anything within 100 feet of a road, building, and we can use it in other situations. Then there's what's called the CAL VTP, the California Vegetation Treatment Program, which has what's called a PSA, project specific analysis. That is minimum 9 months, because you got to survey plants 3 different seasons of the year. You have to have an archaeologist go out on site. That would allow, though, soil disturbance, mechanized equipment. Remember, the fuel crew is not using that stuff. So that's why notice of exemption tends to be the preference there. And then the CEQA suspension that Judy mentions, the governor proclaimed, that is really good in the coastal zone, because coastal zone permitting is really, really tricky. And it's, in theory, just another version of a notice of exemption, but it places a lot. It actually requires you to do a lot of best management practices, BMPs, that are going to increase costs. Like you might need to have a forester supervising the fuels crew doing work. You might have an archaeologist always on site. So my preference, because we're doing low impact, we're doing a surrogate for what a natural wildfire would have done. We're not doing a lot of soil disturbance. We go the notice of exemption route, but a CAL VTP, the CEQA suspension or EPP, are other alternatives. We could also do a mitigated negative declaration. We could do a environmental impact report, an EIR, but those will just add time into the environmental compliance. Yeah. And I just want to add that project design, environmental compliance are 2 different things. A good project's a good project. If you don't have landowner permission, it's still a good project. We just can't implement. If we don't have CEQA compliance, it may still be a good project. We're just limited by CEQA. It may be too expensive, or we're limited by funding and resources. So I encourage everyone to develop good projects. We can work to get it implementation ready, do it in phases, use different approaches.
Yeah, and so just that was a lot more detail than I was wanting to cover here. But just fundamentally, um, if the work you need to do is not within 100 feet of a structure like a road or building, then it will not be able to receive a categorical exemption generally. So what I'm trying to say is that simple project, 100 feet from a road, easy button, go. Anything beyond that, in my opinion, should be put into the other path where it'll go in for review prioritization. And then if it's prioritized high, whoever is sponsoring the project can say, yeah, I'm applying for this grant and it's scored as a, high priority project for the county of Sonoma with regard to the countywide CWPP. That could move it up, in terms of likelihood of funding for grant funding. So yeah, basically, to just be clear that a categorical exemption is very limited in scope. You're not going to likely do a categorical exemption on the top of a 20-mile ridge line. And hopefully that clarifies some of the back stuff in the chat. Yeah, and so it's not just a letter, it's a form that's filled out by the lead agency for a categorical exemption. It's a $50 fee currently. And then it sits in the clearinghouse for, I think, 90 days, Marshall, to be challenged. And then if it's not challenged, it's let.
Yeah, it's 30 days.
Oh, 30 days. Oh, wow. That's even better than I thought. Okay. We have like 4 more minutes. Marshall, did you see anything else in the chat that we can help people with?
I've been trying to answer as we go along. Just because an area is covered in a VTP or a notice of exemption doesn't mean everything in that area has to be done using that same environmental compliance pathway. So just because there's a VTP, and I could go into more detail about a VTP, there's very few large geographic area VTPs right now. They may look like big areas, but that doesn't mean they're all ready to do work on. Yeah. So you can do a notice of exemption within a VTP area. And if we're doing low impact, then it may qualify for a notice of exemption.
Yeah, and then by putting it in the portal that we're building, part of the overall concept/plan is that, a lot of us have an idea where work is being done already, where, VTPs and PSAs have already been done. And so if a project gets in there, we can go, hey, look at this. This project's in the same footprint as, say, the Upper Mark West watershed area, where we're already doing some VTP stuff or already have done VTP stuff. Or look, this one's over here, up on Sonoma Mountain in an area where the county's done some VTP work, and so we can, because of our tentacles being in various places, we can look at a project in that way and kind of help it get some legs under it. All right, where are 3, 4 new questions are coming in? Is Sonoma County Fire District currently filing NOEs? I don't think so. I don't know. Do you know, Marshall? Have they been a lead agency in anything?
I responded back. They were, I would say, kind of a lead agency for a BTP. To my knowledge, they have not done a notice of exemption yet.
Yeah. So they're different things, people. Just be aware. Erica Whitmore. Can you handle Erica's question?
She's looking to be a Firewise USA, and absolutely that's the role of Fire
Oh,
Chief Sonoma. So simple answer,
that'd be
Erica,
me.
yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be me. Sorry, I wasn't understanding the question. I was imagining it being something about CEQA. Yeah, so yeah, reach out to any of us at Fire Safe Sonoma and we'll get you on the path. We probably won't be able to touch it till after the first of next year. We're scrambling like mad, trying to get all the annual community investments up to date. Those are all supposed to be done by tomorrow. For those of you that are Firewise leaders, just be aware, make sure you have your annual community investment in, by tomorrow. We were uploading a new site yesterday and the Firewise USA portal was behaving very slowly, and I think that's due to everybody nationwide is trying to get their stuff in, by the deadline. And so, yeah, reach out to us after the first of the year. We'd be glad to get you stood up. To become Firewise, it takes um, several meetings with us. We have a very strict and thorough process that CAL FIRE Firewise actually loves. They loved it so much that they asked for permission to put our handbook on the CAL FIRE resource website page. And as you're getting started, whoever is interested in getting started in Firewise, um, just go to our website. I'll take you there real quick before we jump off. Let me share screen and then I will take you to show you where anybody interested in becoming Firewise can go. So go to our website, Google firesafesonoma.org. If you go over here to your community, hover, you'll see the drop down gives you three choices. Go to Firewise, it gives you three choices. And here's resources for emerging Firewise communities. Go there. And then we have a whole list of resources. They're listed in order of the evolution of becoming Firewise. So you start by looking at our video presentation, then read the handbook, look at the application checklist, and then reach out to us, and then we'll start calendaring some meetings. Here's our eight. We typically meet with an emerging community 8 times, and these are the meeting agendas. So it's a very, very structured process that we've been doing for quite a while now. Long-winded answer. We have 3 minutes. What else? Telephone number. Um, yeah, if you've emailed me, I am terribly busy and overwhelmed because we've been short-staffed for about 6 or 8 months now. But I'll drop my phone number in the chat. Yeah, I'll reply to that with my phone number. That'll be the best. And then I will get you started and then hand you off to our Firewise um, program lead, who is currently Jenny, one of our new fellows, is helping out there. Okay, well, I think that'll be a wrap. Yeah, no, Nano is the best. Um, Okay, well, you guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully, this was useful and clears up some of the confusion out there. I know this has been a little bit late in coming, but the committee's been doing a lot of bouncing back and forth, trying to come to a clear consensus on, how to move things forward the best. And we were trying to put everything in one portal initially, and I think we landed on a decision to, a good decision in terms of having two paths, like the easy path and then the path for more complex projects that would require grant funding, for example. So again, hopefully this information was helpful. Thank you very much, Chief Turbeville, for helping out. I would have been scared. I don't want to use the other word, but I would have been scared to death to do this alone without your help. Trying to navigate some of the stuff, particularly with the CEQA element of it. And yeah, thank you guys for attending. And thank you, Team Fire Safe Sonoma. Thanks, Sydney, Claire, and Jenny for helping us out behind the scenes. So uh, don't forget, December, we're dark. Y'all have a good Thanksgiving, happy holidays, all that. And we will see you on, I think, the third Thursday of January. You'll get an announcement sometime before then in terms of who we have lined up for our January speaker series. So again, thank you all very much. And we are at time, but there was one more. Oh, that was a thank you. Yeah. All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next year. Have a great holidays.